Hello everyone, welcome to our last webinar, and we're very excited for this today because we have so much for you stored in for us. And ignore the teeth because there is some problem with my camera, so just ignore it for a while. Today we have Sushant and Tanish who are going to be our speakers, and I would like to introduce them. I know that most of you know them personally and know how incredibly talented and amazing they are, and how lucky are we to have them share their knowledge with us today. So starting with Sushant, he's the co-founder of YouTheFuture and the experience, and he is an internationally rated chess player. And there is so much that he has in for us today, and I myself am excited to hear from him. Talking about Tanishk, I know that most of you are aware that he's a former world record holder and an Asia record holder, and he is also a mountaineer, and he was the first person, the youngest person to climb the highest mountain. And today uh, we have him sharing his knowledge with us, and he will be talking about something really important that all of us should be aware of, and we should inculcate that in our day-to-day life.
So today is going to be a lot about momentum, and today is going to be about how to keep up yourself in a good state. So I will begin with my story about how I began with my complete journey. So a lot of you might be knowing it, but a lot of you do not know the insides of it because I do not keep chanting about it all the time. But this is a completely new story to you, I guess. So let's begin. When I was 11 years old, I started with my first high altitude trekking program, which was super amazing. Like it actually, my father took me to an high altitude program, which was around 13,000 feet high. And I reached the summit camp, which is the last camp of Mount Mani Mahesh, which is down in Himalayas in India. So when we began with this complete journey, I really reached the summit camp. And when you're walking, you when you literally snow, when you see snow, when you're like, hey, what is this snow? And the guide go like, oh no, this is going to be snow, this is how it is going to be. I was like, okay. And you climb, and you somehow climb the shit out of the mountain, and you reach to the top. And after that, that was the first time I ever faced my fears, right? After coming down again to the summit camp, I literally was crying for 2 hours. I don't even know why. And that was maybe because something had hit me, and I had, encountered my fears, and something had been broken up, and I had reached a breakthrough. So, my father took me again to three people who have climbed Mount Everest. These are the best of the best in the town. And he said that, this is my son, and he has literally climbed up to 13,000 feet. He is a really amazing guy. He really worked out hard on the mountains. And I'm like, okay, that is really great. So what are you gonna guys do to me? And the trainers were like, okay, we're gonna train you to do something. I was like, what is it? So they were like, okay, I'm gonna make you and train you to become an actual athlete. And here I go again. Oh no, what is it? So they take me to an athletic ground, a ground where, they a lot of people practice sports. That is a sports complex. A lot of people are doing gymnastics. A lot of people are doing athletics, and people are running like crazy. And I reach there, and I see 18-year-old people like 5 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet, and they're running like crazy. They're running like around 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers a day. And I was blown. I was like, what the hell is this? Why are these people doing this? And then the trainer told me that this is how you build the muscle slowly, slowly, slowly. And then you finally reach your point where you actually come to the point of performance. So this is how the complete story began. I started my training, and my trainer actually took me to a coach. Let us call him Carter for now. And my coach actually he started to train me in a specific manner. And I used to ask him like, what is this? So Basically, he made me run 5 kilometers when I was 10-year-old. I was not even 5 feet tall, and he made me run 5 kilometers, and I was almost drained. I was gone. It is a damned feeling. You are almost dead. And he then told me, and I asked him, like, do I have to do this always? And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay, for how long? It's like, until you achieve your target. And I'm like, what is my target? And then comes my trainer, the Everest climber, and he tells me that, we are going to train you to become a person who climbs up to Mount Everest. I was like, oh damn son, that is a big challenge. I was almost dead when I was about to reach 13,000 feet, and you're talking about fucking 28,000 feet. How bad is that? And then when suddenly all of this happened, he started to train me, and I was training day in day out for daily 5 hours. The coach used to train the shit out of me. I was training like I was an 18-year-old kid. At the age of 11, I had built so much muscle that I had back abs, I had tricep, I had every muscle that every teenager could ever imagine to have. And I was like building this muscle, and I was only 10-year-old. So I was like, oh my god, where do I use this? So the trainer, my trainer, who is an Everest climber again, let us call him Chetan for now. His name is Chetan actually. So Chetan took me to another climb, and when I was climbing a mock mountain, is what you'd call it. So when he was climbing that, he told me that the training will intensify. I was like, how? And he was like, okay, you see this mountain, you are climbing this once, but you have to climb this 3 times a day. I was like, oh damn. So most of you are from Pune, so I guess. So a lot of you might be having an idea about how big Parvati is. A normal person takes around 15 to 20 minutes to climb Parvati. But my trainer actually trained so much out of me that I could literally run Parvati within 3 minutes thrice at once. That was the muscle that I was building with this complete time. So with this time, I had built the muscle over the course of 2 years with daily practice, like spaced repetition, daily 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. And with this complete period, I built a literal muscle no, that not even an 18-year-old could imagine at the age of 11. And at the age of 11, we decided to climb Mount Everest Base Camp. Now, a lot of you might be thinking that what is base camp? But an average mountain in India the average snow line begins at 13,000 feet, and Mount Everest is itself 29,000 feet, and the base camp is 17,000 feet. So the altitude being 17,000 feet, it was a big challenge for me. I really, I was rushed. I'm gonna climb the shit out of this mountain. I'm gonna be amazing. I'm gonna kill it. I have a lot of energy. I have trained a lot for this, and I decide I'm so powerful. I was feeling so powerful. My physiology was so strong. I was literally in a state that I could climb any mountain. And the very moment we are about to leave, my dad gets a mail that the flight has been cancelled. And we go like, why? So why is the flight cancelled? The flight was cancelled because Nepal has been struck by an earthquake, and the earthquake is so big at magnitude that it has literally destroyed Nepal, and everything is gone, so you cannot reach there. So I was literally as good as gone. I was feeling very sad, very low, and I went to bed and I was crying and sobbing, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? Why did this happen to me? I was feeling like a victim. And after a point, everything became so bad that it was 2 in the morning and I had not slept until my mother came in, and she was like, what happened, son? And I was like, okay, this is really getting at me. This mountain thing, I could not do it. I was so excited to do it. And after a point, something happened, and she told me that be lucky and be happy that you did not book flights 2 days ago. If that would have been the case, you would not have been come back, and I would probably not have been here delivering the stuff to you. So basically, just because that, my focus changed, everything changed, and my mindset changed, and I really became happy about the situation. And I slept a good night's sleeps. And the next day, I again the Everest, the climbers, all of them, the office had actually organized a meeting. Yeah, Riley, everything happens for a reason, and you will know about the reason soon. So they called a meeting and they were like, no, okay, 17,000 feet was not enough. So let us begin and aim something higher, which is what? Which is Mount Stoke Congaree, which is 21,000 feet. Okay, now I am an 11-year-old kid. I got really nothing. I am a very thin guy. I am not even like, I don't think I was even weighing like around 40 kilograms. And I am this tiny kid on the top of a mountain, which is very much worldwide and which is very popular, and people come from all over the world to climb it. And in this journey, Stoke Kangri is the highest peak of Ladakh. And a lot of you are from India, so you might be having an idea of how high is Ladakh. So it is as double the altitude of Ladakh, and it is the highest peak of Ladakh. So it was like a crazy story. I reached there, we reached Ladakh, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? I'm so excited for this. And we start the climb. Okay. Now we were climbing for around 2 weeks. And after that, things got interesting when we reached the summit camp. Now, what happened at the summit camp? Let me tell you. There were people who actually came to me and who told me that I am a white guy. I am 7 feet tall. I have better gear than what you have. And you are an 11-year-old brown kid. Why do you think you can climb this mountain when I could not? And I was like, you make a point, but I really don't give a shit. So I again began with my complete process, and everything starts. And then I have this thing of self-doubt within me, which has been imbibed over a span of 2 weeks by people from all over the world. And I was the youngest person there. I reached the camp and I asked myself, what is this? Why am I the youngest here? And he was like, that is what makes you special. That is what made me different, was what my trainer told me. And I was like, oh my God. We reached the summit camp. The altitude of summit camp is itself 16,000 feet. The first night that we reached the summit camp, a team member from our squad member actually faced some altitude sickness problems. Now, her oxygen level dropped to 85 to 83, whereas the average oxygen should never drop below 95. She was as good as dead if she had stayed for that altitude for 2 or more hours. And the helicopter, no helicopter could come to rescue her at that altitude, because the air was so thin that that a helicopter could not fly, because the air never existed there. So that is how, there were two guides of ours who actually carried her on their back all the way within 8 hours, what we had been climbing for the last 14 days. And these guys reached the camp, and she went into, and she was admitted immediately, like no problems. And she was admitted in, she was in the ICU, she was in the intensive care unit. And that is how everything began. And again, everything was again bombarding on my mind, like, oh my God, another team member is gone, another team member is gone, another team member is gone. And that is something that kept happening, and that is something that kept happening. And after a specific point, I was hearing stories. People started to tell me stories. Like, there was this guy who was from Israel who reached to the top of the mountain, and there he had some altitude sickness problems. So because he had some altitude sickness problems and his oxygen levels depleted, he got a high. He got a literal high, and he jumped off the cliff and died. Because he was literally in a very trippy state, like one can get through smoking weed or smoking anything. He literally got that, and he could not walk, and he did not listen to anyone, and he just walked off the cliff. That is something that happened to a lot of people. A lot of people had died, and people were coming and telling me stories. And here I was again, 11-year-old brown kid on an altitude of 16, 17,000 feet, where the resources were so limited that people had to, carry all the eggs and all the milk on their back, and people are carrying literally, gas cylinders on their back for food to cook, and everything was so scarce. This happened, and we literally began the climb. So then came the day of our summit, the time when we reached the top, when we decided that no, tonight we're going to leave, and tomorrow we're going to summit. And I was again a 12-year-old kid, the same stories, the same identity. And on that campsite, that was what my that was the identity that everyone made out of me, which was I was a 12-year-old brown kid who can achieve nothing. But this is when it began. We started the climb at 11 in the night, because that is what you do. So because the climb is long, so you start at night, so you summit by the morning and come back before the afternoon. So we started the climb at 11 in the night. And as we began with this complete story, there were 26 people that left the camp. Remember this number, please, 26. And we started to climb, and out of the 8 members that I had on my team, out of those, 3 of them almost gave up. And after a point, they hit a huge glacier where where it was all ice, and you could literally see nothing, but there was moon and all ice. And a lot of people, I guess around of 8, 4 of them gave up right at that spot. 4 of them gave up. And here I was again, I was literally frozen. The temperature reached down to around minus 10 degrees Celsius. The wind speed was not favorably good. So everything was like freaking crazy, and to eat, I had some almonds in my pocket. And as I was walking, I literally tried to take out an almond and put it in my mouth. But when I tried to open the chain of my pocket, I could not, because my fingers were frozen. And when this happened, I could not literally put a piece of almond in my mouth. And I saw a guy who was literally doing push-ups and a heavy workout at that altitude. I was like, "Are you crazy, man? What are you doing?" And he was like, "No, I am just giving myself an adrenaline shot." I was like, "What's that? I'm too young for it to know any of that." And he was like, "Okay, so this is something that gives you a lot of energy, so I can, climb the mountain." I was like, "Okay, great." So I asked my trainer if I could do that, because I was as good as gone. So the trainer said, "No, you're not going to do that. I'll beat the shit out of you if you do this." I was like, "Okay, no, not a problem." And we again keep continuing the climb. Once we reached the climb, I literally had the moment where I see no God up here except for me. There was no one around. There was only me and 2 of my other people, right? So there was only me and I guess 2 of my teammates. So that is how everything began. We reached the cliff, and the cliff had an immense fall. I could not literally measure it because I was above the clouds. And I reached a point where I asked my trainer, like, how deep is the fall? He was like, "You're gonna fall on, even if you die on the even if you fall on the either sides, because here on the right side it is a 5,000 feet fall, on the left side it is a 7,000 feet fall." And I'm like, "Oh my god, you cannot risk it." So we again continue with the climb, and then comes something called self-doubt, which a lot of people had been trying to ingrain into me for the past 2 weeks. And this self doubt begins, and this problem begins, and I am almost about to give up when I do not have any energy. And I am like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" And the trainer said, "No, you gotta give, no, you gotta go, you gotta reach there. You have so much to achieve. Go, go, go." And I was like, "I cannot move a shit. I cannot move a piece of my body. Why are you telling me to move when I cannot?" And he was like, "Because this is what counts. Because everyone can come up to here, but no one can go ahead of this, and that is what will make the difference. So I want you to keep climbing." And that is something that I did, and I reached the summit. We had started at 11 in the night, and it was again, I guess, 8 in the morning. So that was 9 hours straight of climbing in minus 10 degrees Celsius, and it was almost gone. I had no food, I had no water, because all the water had frozen, all the water in the thermos flask had frozen, everything was gone. We had no resources, body was dehydrating, but we somehow reached the summit, and we were there for only 20 minutes. And I was like, "Oh my God, what is this? What is happening?" And I simply tried to look around, and it is a beautiful sight. You cannot even imagine how beautiful it was, because Just imagine you are up on a cliff where you can see nothing else but the clouds below you, and your vision extends till the end of the horizon. And that is something that was a very proud moment. You take out your flag of the nation and you click a photo and you're like, bam, this is amazing, I'm gonna do this again. And I started to climb down, and as I said, that my body was almost gone, I was almost frozen, I could not talk, I had no energy. And I somehow reached the camp. I reached the camp and I am standing at the edge of my tent, and I'm close to losing consciousness. And before that, my trainer comes to me and he tells me that, you son of a bitch, you broke a world record. And I'm like, screw it, I want to sleep. And I crash into the tent and I sleep for 4 hours straight. I really have no idea about what is happening, because I was so drained. I had not sleep. I had not slept for like 48 hours straight, with around, how much? Let me count. 16 hours of walking in snow. So it was as good as gone. I slept for 4 hours and I got up again at 6. I come down to the mess tent, is what you call it, where all of the people of the campsite come together to have dinner because it's a warm place. And I come into the mess tent, and all the Indians had actually baked a cake at that altitude to celebrate the world record. And all the people have actually made me cut the cake in front of the people who had been criticizing me for not being able to achieve it. And it was hell of a thing. I could not believe it myself. I had no real idea about what was going on. My body was almost gone. My physiology was almost gone. But I was like, okay, screw it. Whatever it is, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it. This is my new identity. I kept that, and I had broken the world record. We cut the cake, and it was just an amazing thing. We really rocked it. And after all of this ended, I literally was able to keep up the momentum. Now I want to ask you a question. Just guess, for how long was I happy after the climb, after I broke the world record? How much do you think? Hit the chat box, please. A year, 6 months, 6 weeks? Okay, so just everyone. No. Okay, so it was not a year, it was not a year, it was not 6 months, it was not 6 days, it was only 6 hours. And I was like, oh my god, I'd been training for 3 freaking years of my life. I have been beating the shit out of me, and I get happy for only 6 hours. What is the deal out of this? And then I realized something, that it is not in the result, it is in the process. It is in defying the odds, and it is in being the process. It is about the struggle. If I tell you, like we also had this thing when we talked last time with Parker, like if I say that, hey, I will play a video game on your behalf, or I will watch Netflix on your side, will you or will you not? Will you or will you not hit me? Simple as that. So basically, everything begins with simply enjoying the process. Isn't that right? Okay, so I want to give you a few takeaways out of this. This is my story, and after this, I actually built the momentum through this, and I went on to broke a world record. I went on to climb Mount Elbrus, which is the highest European peak. I went on to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the highest African peak, and I went on to climb a lot of peaks. I went on to become felicitated at a lot of places. Like, it was purely amazing. But it's all in the process. Like, if I say I will have all the fame on your behalf, what will you think? Okay, so with all the story behind, with everything, all of this, what do you think about how do you keep up the momentum? I want to ask you guys, what do you think is why is it important to keep up the momentum? Anyone can just hit the chat box with this. Okay, keep working. Thank you so much, Parker. Okay, so with this, I really want to ask you guys, like when I was again, I just want to ask you this, that what makes you chase success? Anyone, just hit the chat box. What makes you chase success? Is it human genetic programming? Is it the goals that religion provides us? Are those the dopamine shots that we get every time? I just want to hit the chat box and tell me what makes you chase success. Recognition, achieving goals. Okay. What makes you chase success? A lot of people are clueless here. Struggling situation. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Apurva. The destination. Okay. Okay, so really, what makes us chase success in this complete journey, in this complete new era of how to do things? Like, if you want to really do anything, you can go on YouTube and search how to do this. Will you or will you not find a solution? Yes, you will definitely find a solution because it is all about, you know, everything has become so much quickly accessible to it that we have forgot the ability to question why we are doing something, right? How many of you agree with me? Raise your hands. Right, so just because we have lost the ability to question, we never ask ourselves why we do what we do. Is that correct? You never know why you scroll through 2 hours daily of Instagram. You just don't know. You just don't know why you, like, why you do a particular task, because just because someone made you believe it that it will give you a dopamine shot. So basically human genetic programming is what makes a lot of people chase success with conformity. But here's the catch: if you define what is success for you, you can literally do anything. It all begins with defining not the goal, the process. For me, it was honestly not breaking the world record. It was actually climbing it effectively. That was what was success for me, and that is what I decided that I was going to do. And after daily 4 hours rigid training, I used to feel happy and satisfied because that was the process. What makes you successful is the process, not the results. Is the happiness, the joy that you get in the process, right? And when you begin with this, I want to ask you one thing: is it comfort zone expansion that a lot of people are behind? How many of you want new experiences in your life? Raise your hands. Why do you want new experiences in your life? Ever questioned that? Well, no one does, because we are all genetically programmed to actually, want what everyone else is wanting. So I'm going to give you 3 ways that how I personally used these ways to keep up the momentum and, actually keep up my high peak state for around 4 constant years, and keep breaking world record and keep breaking Asian records and participate in marathons, win them, complete them. I also completed 2 half climbed marathons, like mountain marathons. You have to literally run the mountains. I also did that. I had literally became a fitness freak. I was running for 15-20 kilometers daily. It was like amazing, so cool. Now I'm going to give you 3 keys so that you can keep the momentum high after you have begun with it. Everyone, just sit straight, chest out, shoulder blades back. I don't care who is around you. Chest out, shoulder blades back. Now, when you do this, breathe deep in. Why am I making you do this? Because principle number 1 of having a good state is having good physiology. How many of you agree with me? Raise your hands. A lot of this might be new for a lot of you guys, but why do you get a dopamine shot when you eat that bite of ice cream, which is simply a change in physiology? How many of you agree with me? Why do you get that simple dopamine shot, or why do you find happiness in actually meeting someone which is simply change in physiology. So everything begins with maintaining a good physiology. Now, if anyone ever asks you, like, why do you have such a big chest? You go like, screw you. I have a big chest. I want a big chest. It makes me happy. It makes me feel proud. All right. Amazing. Cool. So number two, key number two, principle number two of having a good state is being is focusing on what is good. Like the night that Mount Everest base camp was cancelled, if I had focused on actually, being sad, being sad, I would not have been here, because I would have never had the motivation to again climb the mountains and again go back to the process and do it all again. So what my mom made me focus on was that I saved my life. So at every moment you are deciding what you focus on. So everyone, just strong physiology, good focus is what matters the most. Number three, what meaning you give to the situation. Like, I was in the base camp, I was in the summit camp of the mountain, and when a person comes to me and he is like, screw you, you're not going to be able to do this, and my trainer comes to me and gives a meaning to the situation. Like, just because you're different from the others, that is why you're going to do it. That is the simple task. And you keep yourself in that happy state and that good state, so you keep up the momentum. Now, why a state? Why does having a good state matter a lot? Now, most of you might be searching for good results, but what what governs results are action. What governs actions is a state. Right. So if you can master the state, you can master this complete cycle, and you can master the result that you can get. So everyone, just always be in a strong physiology and focus on what actually does matter, so you can actually become what you want to do, and you can become what you want, and you can literally gain maximum information and be happy. Because a lot of people don't want to be happy, because they are like, oh my god, I don't care about anything else, I just have to feed my ego, I have to make myself strong, I have to make myself appealing, I have to make sure that everyone is looking at me. But that is not the case. You have to be strong and you have to be happy within, and that is how everything begins. So after this story, I want to ask you guys, I'm going to give you guys three tools that, no, not actually three, it begins with two tools that you can do literally anything done. Like two tools to actually make sure that you keep up the high momentum. Now, I'm gonna tell you about a goal that every one of you here has achieved, but the goal is so common that you go like, oh my god, no, this is not even an achievement. Because you can come down to me and say like, no, Tanish, you have broken a world record, you are an amazing guy, but what about me? But I'm gonna tell you about one specific achievement that you have done in your life that actually made you into a better person. Now, think of yourself as a baby. How many of you here can walk? How many of you here can walk? Just raise your hands. Right. So, do you believe that if you have the recipe and the ingredients of the best brownie maker in town, or let's say the best brownie maker which is delicamenti right now in town, then can you or can you not use their recipe and their ingredients to model and perfect the same brownie that you have eaten from their hand? Can you or can you not do it? Can you model the complete system and get what you want? Okay, Riley, I was confused for a second. So, okay, so with this, I am going to tell you about how you actually learned to walk, because that is such a small achievement that we never consider it. Now, so now look at yourself as a baby. And when you were like, let's say 2 years old and you took your first step, what did the people around you do? All of them were happy. All of them were like, oh, you took your first step. Or did they hit you like, you son of a bitch? Why was it only one step? Why not two at a time? Why not three? And on the first step, you would not hit a child, but you praise it. Now, this system of how you learned and mastered walking is, I'm going to tell you, is the system that I'm going to tell you so that you can do literally anything. So here it begins. So as a child, when you actually learned to walk with real, with real guts, what was the motivation for you to walk? What was the motivation for you to walk? Anyone hit the chat box right now. What was the motivation for you to talk? Nothing. Okay. Okay. Everyone else does. Yes, Parker, that is what the thing is. If you surround yourself with all the people who can walk around, you literally push yourself to walk. So the key lies in surrounding yourself with the people who have what you want. And key number 2 is praising yourself at every small step and not being hard on yourself. Because what most people do is when they take the first step and they think that no, they have done a task incomplete, and they feel like, oh my god, no, I was such a jerk, I could not do it. They hate themselves and they associate pain to the particular process. And according to our nervous system, do you go towards pain or away from it? Of course, away from it. Because just imagine, the human body is so well evolved that if you do not give yourself enough dopamine, then you actually start getting frustrated and you have mental health problems. Is that correct? Right. So what happens is that most people become too hard on themselves, and they literally hit themselves, hit the baby at the very first step that it takes, and then it never learns to walk. Because when you are trying to achieve your goal and you do not have the right kind of people around you, and if you hit yourself, that is, you hit the baby, then you will never learn to walk. You will never be attached to the process. Think of it in simple terms. What makes animals have sex? They have no knowledge about it, but they still do. Why? Because the nervous system is so wired that it has to give you pleasure, and that pleasure, it is what actually pushes you towards it no matter what, so the generation stays alive. How many of you agree with me? Raise your hands. So the key to having a good state, so let me summarize my complete talk. So it was having a good state because your results are dictated by the action is dictated by, so the results dictate the action dictates, the action is dictated by the knowledge and the state that you are in. So for a good state, we have three factors. Number one is to maintain a strong physiology. Number two is to focus on the right thing. Number three is to give the right kind of meaning to the situation, no matter what. And this is how it begins. And then comes the science of achievement, which is praising yourself at every moment. Like when I do literally anything, I go like this: good job, mate. Why that? Because when you do this and you try to attach dopamine to when you try to attach dopamine to the process, you get literally aligned to it. And if you do not do it, and if you're not able to actually go through the process, if you do not get enough pleasure when you're doing the process, you will never be able to achieve your goal no matter what. So you have to praise yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. And as the story goes, I had to praise myself on the top of the mountain when I was almost about to die. If I had given up the strength in my mind, I would have literally crashed off the cliff. But that did not happen because I could keep myself in a good state. So state, physiology, focus, meaning. And number two, praise yourself. And what was the second one? Surround yourself with the right kind of people, the people who have what you want. So how many of you loved it? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so our host today, who is Siddhi, they had an emergency, so she had to go. So this talk is going to be a bit continued. I would say not just continued, but this today we have, yeah, but this talk is going to be like I can say continued by Sushrut, because Sushrut is a guy who is really close to my heart, and he has been doing all of this. So basically, what Sushrut is going to be talking about, I told you how to keep up the, how to make the momentum, how to create the momentum. But Sushant is going to tell you keys and ways to actually make and keep up the high momentum, because the very moment you can keep it, the very moment is your, that is your success moment. That is your success moment, is what you can call it, not the result that you get. Because it does not matter to me if I'm a world record holder, if I'm an Asian record holder, it does not matter. Literally, I am telling you, it, that is not the key to anything. If when I'm chilling with my friends, I am no one, I'm just a simple person. And let me tell you, the result never does matter. What does is the process. So align yourself and wire yourself to love the process, and you can get anything done. So Shruth is going to be talking about keeping up the momentum and making sure everything is amazing. And he is also going to tell us about how we can develop good communication skills and how we can be strong. Because, you know, when it comes to momentum, a lot of the part is self-talk. And if you can communicate effectively, communication is what determines the quality of your lives. So if you can communicate effectively with anyone around you and also you can get anything done. So here's to you, Sushruth. Thank you so much.